this is basically a retooled version of a video I had already made, and apparently the sound didn't work quite right on it, so I'm making another video for that very purpose. My name is Adam. I'm a Catholic. Don't call me a Roman Catholic unless you're like an Eastern Catholic, because I find it offensive. As opposed to what? Anglicans are not Catholic. I hate to tell you that, but they're not. They might have a similar liturgy, but the beliefs are different. With that being said, I have an autistic spectrum disorder, commonly referred to as Asperger's syndrome. It was named for Dr. Hans Asperger, who was an Austrian doctor of some sort. I think he was a psychiatrist. He described it as a sort of autistic psychopathy. So sometimes I identify as high-functioning autism. I really don't think there's much of a difference between the two, and I think there's too much of an overlap to consider them to be different things. And regardless of what Wikipedia says, there is no scientific consensus that there's a difference. There's not one. Well, I mean, it would have to be consensus. I'm sure there's some that say it is, some that say it's not, but there is no scientific consensus. So don't bother with the talk page on Wikipedia, because it's just a bunch of idiots. Oh, here's a few links. Yeah, that's not every major scientist on Earth, now is it? It doesn't make much sense to say you're autistic, but you're not autistic enough to be called autistic. With that being said, let me get right down to it. I have a few temper problems. I have these things called meltdowns. Don't get me wrong, I won't hit someone. That's just my brother, maybe. But that's just not something I do. I might pout, I might scream, but I will not hit someone. And don't get me wrong, we do have emotions. They say, oh, they're not emotive, or they don't show emotions very well, and which I think is stupid. I mean, I don't always know what to say. I don't always know what to do. And there's an emotion called empathy that supposedly people like me don't feel. Empathy is feeling what someone else feels. I can't feel what someone else feels. I can feel something like they feel, which is sympathy, but I cannot know exactly what you're feeling unless I'm you. There's some repetitive movements, like I tend to rock and stuff, and it's not a huge deal. It can be problematic, but it's usually not. So, if you can't hear by my voice, I do have a speech impediment, but that has nothing to do with having Asperger's syndrome. That's just something I have. I stutter too, so I have high intelligence. That's one thing that sets Asperger's apart from other autistic disorders. Although I'm not saying that they can't have high intelligence, because they very well can. But with Asperger's, that tends to be the average, is average or above average intelligence, and I have a little bit above average. I'm not a genius. I'm no Einstein. I learned to talk before I was like 5 or 7 or whatever age it was. I'm very opinionated. If I do have something to say, I will say it, regardless of whom it offends, because I think that the problem is that if you close off yourself and instead of giving your opinion, then what good are you, really? And I do have strong opinions. First of all, I'm very strong about my faith. And that's St. Anthony. And if you got a problem with it, then shut your face. I don't care. I'm not anti-Protestant per se, but I am anti-Protestant being anti-Catholic, because I am Catholic, and I don't understand what are you trying to prove. Never understood how a lot of people with Asperger's syndrome were atheists. Atheism doesn't make sense to me. I believe in evolution. I believe in the Big Bang. And you know what? You don't have to, okay? It's fine if you don't. But just the way I see it is that there would have to be a God even for those. There would have to be. However, I do not believe in a Darwinian view of evolution, because Darwin himself was actually extremely racist. And there is evidence for it. You can go look it up. You can research it in books if you don't believe me. Then again, just because it's there doesn't mean it's always right. You can't believe everything you hear, or you'd believe a bunch of contradictions. Here's an interesting fact. Protestant churches have a higher rate of sexual abuse than Catholics. One safest place for a child to be is at a Catholic church. That's a fact. Another thing is that I don't tend to look people in the eyes, and I'm not quite sure why. I know a lot of people think it's because people with Asperger's find it overwhelming, and I don't think that's true. I have it. I mean, why are you telling me what I feel? I'm bad at math. I have dyscalculia, which is basically a math dyslexia, and yeah, it sucks. I can do basic math. That's pretty much the extent of it. But I'm good at almost everything else, unless you put math in it. Like, in regards to biology with the Punnett squares and whatnot. Yeah, that's a pain. There's someone going down my street on a scooter. Let's see, when I say scooter, I mean moped. Here in South Carolina, a lot of people have DUIs, so they ride the scooters because you don't have to have a license for them. Also, I make loud electronic music. I don't do drugs. I won't even take my antidepressants because Prozacs will make me depressed. That's another part of having an autistic disorder that no one ever talks about, is the depression part. Oh, they talk about the meltdowns, and they talk about the constant, temper tantrums, but no one ever talks about the depression. It's something that I can't even begin to explain. I'll see you. Goodbye.